running our score sheets once in a while to examine how well we are doing. All right, so I will start with Mr. Jones. Please introduce yourself and what role you play in the industry.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be here, and it's a privilege to be at LLF this year. We've been doing this for like 4 years. I work with Providus Bank. I'm the divisional head for corporate banking, and corporate banking sits over 6 groups that spans all through probably all the sectors of business in Nigeria, make together FMCG, creatives, oil and gas, upstream, midstream, downstream, manufacturing, healthcare, pharmaceuticals. So because of all that large portfolio, you get to interact. And in summary, what we do is business development. What we do is relationship management. What we do is working with people to translate their concepts and their ideas that they have into a positive outcome to ensure that they are able to impact the economy. So we are not just like bankers that we just want to sit there and just take your money. So we sit down with people because everyone has an idea of what they want to do. Thank you very much.
I think it will definitely come to. She's thrown up a lot of questions that we're definitely going to come to as well. Yes, Mr. Shola Oyebade, what role do you play in the industry?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Shola Oyebade. I'm also known as Mr. Mahogany. And I run a company called Fashion's Finest Africa and also Mahogany Productions and Events. But if I'm looking at the creative sides, funny enough, both of our companies actually are involved in the creatives. For the Fashion's Finest Africa side of the business, we look at new and emerging creatives. So we don't just look at designers. We do a fashion show called the Epic Show every year. We do Fashion Rave in November as well. But we don't just look at designers. We look at the whole cycle of people that are involved in it, from makeup artists to models, the hairstylists, to exhibitors, retailers, social media people that are involved in the fashion space. And from the other side of it, where we do productions and events, we're looking at how do we get, how would I put it? How do we get people that are involved in different aspects of the event industry into the space? You know, so if you're someone that's living in Mushin, how can you become a carpenter that builds sets and events? Or how can you learn how to do lighting and stuff like that? Because these are all creatives. I'm not going to spend too much time onto it, but literally our main focus has always been on new and emerging creatives.
All right, thank you very much. All right, let's hear from Ms. Adiza Tukushoaib.
Hello. Just wanted to be sure that the mic was on. My name is Adiza Tukushoaib once again, and I'll first of all say it's a pleasure to be here once again, once more. With the Bank of Industry has been supporting Lagos Leather Fair, I think, almost since inception. And we're really happy to be on this journey with the Bank of Industry. For my role on Group Head Agro Processing, one of the sectors that we cover is leather. Apart from the wood, paper, packaging, etc. And we do know, I mean, based on the conversation that we're having about the support in terms of what we're doing is actually more end-to-end. We support both the tanneries, and then we also support, at the other end of the value chain, those that produce shoes, boots, to some extent, the bags, and so on and so forth. In terms of the bank's support over the years to industries, I can say that between 2015 and the first quarter of this year, we're looking at upward of trillions. That's a lot of money that's gone to support industries. And we've supported about a total of about 4 million enterprises. And by our own estimation, we're looking at maybe 10 million jobs. So in as much as these sound like big numbers, I know for a fact that we have a lot more to do. I was also speaking earlier with the founder and the originator, and we talked about how we have so much to do. We've started this journey, but I think what we need to do is to start being more strategic. There's one word that she used. Let's be more strategic and more focused, because we don't want to be, as you mentioned, we don't want to be like running around in circles. And I think it's apt that you mentioned, let's start with the end in mind. Let's be more focused. Let's be more strategic. And let's know that if we're going to be supporting this sector, let's know how we're going to do it. We need to be specific about it. We need to be smart about it. We need to know which end of the value chain we're going to support, to what measure, and give ourselves that target so that we know what we're working towards.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Dr. Jerry? Yes.
Thank you for inviting us. I will first appreciate the organizers for the opportunity to be part of this conversation. Our role as an institute, Nigeria Institute of Leather and Science Technologies area, is training, research in leather and leather products. We have the mandate by the federal government to ensure that Nigerian youths and women have opportunity to be trained in the aspect of leather and footwear and other leather products. We also conduct research in the leather and leather products sector. Not only that, as an institute, we also have other added responsibility by the federal government to carry out policies of government in the sector. As you are aware, we have the National Leather and Leather Products Policy in Nigeria, which my DG, Professor M.K. Yakubu, is the chairman of the leather policy. We are also fortunate to have the secretary of that policy in our midst, Master Igili Andrew. Please, can you just indicate? He is also here.
Yes.
So our role is to ensure that we carry out government policies to create the environment for the sector to be able to operate very well. I would like to add, our role goes beyond what we do as a nation. We have gone ahead to connect with the African continent because we are involved in the African standardization process of footwear and leather products. So we participate in the technical committee of the African region with regards to standardization of products. And currently, I am the chairperson of the African Technical Committee on Footwear and Accessories. So our role centered on training, research, and policy implementation in Nigeria.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Jerry. Thank you very much. And don't forget, joining us virtually is Wilson Erumebo. He's joining us virtually. Hi, Wilson.
Hello.
Good to have you here still. Please tell us what role you play in the industry.
Well, first of all, I must say I'm excited to be there. This is my second time speaking at the event, and always a pleasure. I'm looking forward to it because I think it's very important, especially for the creative industry and particularly the leather industry in Nigeria. So my role, I work for an organization which is the Nigerian Economic Summit Group that basically works to push for reforms across different sectors of the economy. And one of the key areas, I know some of us must have seen a video earlier in the year before the election where the NESG basically engaged the three major presidential aspirants on their plans for Nigeria going forward. So that's the kind of advocacy that we do. We engage the government. We try to ensure that policies across different sectors are implemented. We also try to engage in the planning process of these policies. Work together to do different summits and research and other engagements with people. So personally, for me, I'm currently pursuing a PhD program, almost at the wrapping stage. And one of the key things I'm looking at is where are the growth areas in Nigeria, where can the jobs of the future come from, and also leveraging on my experience over the last decade, within the energy and before that, in the creative industry, the leather industry proves to be one key area that we should be looking at. Like over time, we focus too much on crude oil and so many other areas that we can see that have not given us the kind of resilience that we need. So that's basically my role, a bit more towards the research side.
Right. Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Wilson. So this is exciting because we have key stakeholders here, talk about government, talk about financial institutions, because the last conversation, actually, a lot of the speakers talked about their challenges from the government angle, from financial angle, and it's so awesome that we have people in the different, areas represented here today. So let's start with the current assessment of the industry, focusing on leather, of course. Let me start with Mr. Oyebade. How would you assess the industry, the current state of the industry right now?
The industry is growing. There's no doubt about that. It's gone a long way over the years. As was mentioned earlier, exports are reducing because we're having to use more of our leather in-house. The quality of what we do in terms of our production, I mean, if you walk around the exhibition, you will not believe that these are stuff that are made in Nigeria. They could easily have been made in Milan or Paris. That's how good the stuff is that we're producing now. And I think something like Leather Fair is instrumental in taking it to that next level, because a lot of people working solely as individuals before this event came along. Now it's brought people together to understand that there is a community of people out there. You're not there by yourself. I mean, I was looking at FAMAT, I think that's how they pronounce it.
FAMAT, yes.
And, they actually make shoes. They brought the machinery down from, I think they're from Delta, that area. They brought the machine down, and they show you actually how they make the shoes. So it just goes to show that we can do things in Nigeria. And if they start making the shoes and people are coming to them, that means that more and more, the demand for the leather that we have in Nigeria is going to be needed. And one of the key things I think people should note here is that Nigerian leather is among the best leather in the world. I can say it's second to none. That's how good it is. That's why people are in high demand for it. And when we stop exporting it, it's going to be really good. And it also means that as we send out less, the price will increase because the demand for it will be more. I'm not an economist, but I know there's things called demand and supply.
Yes. All right, fantastic. Ms. Jones, I don't know if you'd like to also say something with regards to your assessment of the industry currently.
Okay, I wouldn't like to overflog what Mr. Imani said, but all his observations in this 5-year journey is true. I think the awareness, from day one that I met the convener, my own vision had been, how do we get more Nigeria informed? I always make a joke. I travel to Dubai and UK, and I buy those bags expensive from the mall. I bring them back here, I forget to use them because my work is hectic. Then I go back to pick them up, then they are peeling. Then I will give you a practical example. The bags I've bought from the Nigerian, from this Leather Fair, I've not been to my house, I've not carried them in 2 years. I went home the other day to pick one, and there was no wrinkle. It was standing, it was beautiful. I was like, what is wrong with us? Why do we leave value? Because, it's still, is it a slavery mentality? So we've gone a long way. And my conversation today, in 1 minute, what I want to drive is, let's document our vision. Let's make case for the change we want to see.
Right.
Let's make a case. Why? Okay. Let's define the why. Let's make a case. Then I'm happy that the policy people are here.
Yes.
When there are no incentives, people will be frustrated. When there are no skills and resources, people, there will be a slow start. So all the things that is causing the slow start, we need to eliminate them. And like you said, all the stakeholders are here. Right. So let us eliminate frustration. Right. Let us eliminate slow start. Right. Let us eliminate people not having the reason to want to join this vision. Right. Let us document the vision that in 10 years, when you find 10 Nigerians wearing anything that is made with leather, 8 of them will be using leathers made from Nigeria, which, as he has said, is the best in the world. Then the policy people will need to support that by the people exporting our leather. Then we, the financier, we need to come in the value chain to collaborate to ensure that we share costs in a manner that whatever it is that they export it and bring it back to us, we make financing available in a collaborative manner that people can, with a reduced cost, use those facilities and do the same thing. Then it's affordable for our people. And like the person online mentioned, like Wilson mentioned, it will become an emerging economy. The new place for employment in a few years' time. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Now, talking about Wilson, let me take you to Wilson, because let's talk about the challenges. You mentioned some. There are some challenges, because some of our speakers from the past sessions have also mentioned some. Wilson, you're a research person. What are the challenges, really, in the industry? And I'm glad the stakeholders are here. What are the real challenges in the industry?
I think I wouldn't limit my conversation to just leather, because I know,
yes, creatives, absolutely.
Industry. But I think generally, I think there are success stories. Maybe I should point that out first, especially when we talk about Nigerian music, when we talk about art, entertainment, right? We've seen a few cases where things have worked, right? Just the other day, I was heading out, and the traffic was just unbearable, and I was wondering what's going on, only to find out that Burnaboy was having a show just near my house at West Ham Stadium, and I decided to go in to check for myself. You can imagine the crowd that we had there, people from all walks of life, coming in, Nigerians, Ghanaians, foreigners, everyone. And at that sense, I felt I was so proud to be a Nigerian, right? It was like, this is my brother doing this, bringing all of these people here. I think that's the kind of vision that we need to have as Nigerian, and it shouldn't just be limited to within Nigeria itself, because we have all of the potential to export some of these products outside Nigeria, even to dominate markets across the world. The other point I would also like to make is that you see, we started with, especially with the entertainment aspect of the creative industry. I remember growing up back in the day, I almost knew the lyrics of so many foreign music, followed the stories of foreign musicians. But gradually, we started seeing that shift from consuming lots of foreign products, foreign music, to moving towards Nigeria, Africa-centric type of music. And that transition happened, it just happened almost in a short time. You can just hear us listening to Burnaboy, Whiskey, and Davido and the like. And it didn't stop there. It wasn't just that we listened to it, we exported it outside of Nigeria to the rest of the world. Yeah. So, and that is exactly what we're trying to do, or what the government is trying to do with almost all of the industry that we have. Speaking to the leather industry now, what we basically have seen with the music transition is moving from a point of import substitution. So rather than consuming too much of foreign, we started consuming locally, and then we exported that to the rest of the world. So I think coming to the hard, industry like the leather industry, that's one key point, one key goal that we need to set for ourselves, and that transition has to happen. So what I see happen, and speaking to the challenges now, is that that's where we want to be, but the approach we use for the leather industry, I think, and even some of the goods producing industry is totally why we haven't seen success as much as we've seen in the entertainment space. Part of it has to do with all of the problems relating to infrastructure. How easy is it for us to move goods from one place to another? Looking at issues relating power supply, how much you spend, to keep your factories running. And these are cost areas that at the end of the day make some of these products less competitive. And I think finally one key area is in the areas of skills development, right? Having to hone some of these skills. And in that process also being able to adapt to or adopt new technologies to create innovative products for the market. And I must give it to the Nigerian entrepreneurs, and I'm sure people who are there physically, there are so many goods, that despite all of these problems, right, we are scaling through and we're still thinking, how we can do better. One window of opportunity is the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which I think should form the crux and the center of whatever policy design we want to introduce to address all of these challenges that we have mentioned.
All right, thank you very much, Wilson. Very well said. Now I'm going to bring this to Dr. Terry now, because at some point everyone's talked about government and the roles that we need to play. We're talking about the challenges now. We obviously don't have a problem with talent. We have people who are, phenomenal, great, So, but what are the challenges, especially from the government angle, and what role can government play in smoothing, this issues out for us?
Thank you once more. Let me start from what you just mentioned now, the fact that we don't have problem with talent. That is true. Nigeria, we are well endowed with a lot of talents. However, we need to harness our talents. If you are gifted, there is need for you to find the opportunity to upscale your knowledge and your skill in order to arm yourself to make products that are competitive out there. So there is need for us to really understand that training and research we must continually give attention to that. Just as the previous speaker said, Mr. Wilson, if I'm right, we know about the African Continental Free Trade Zone or area. We are not operating in isolation to all the agreements with regards to that. And for us in government, we are focusing on how we can really make facilities with regards to training and research available and closer to Nigerians. Let me give you an example. NALES, in collaboration with the Raw Material Research and Development Council, is developing a common facility center called Smart Footwear Common Facility Center. We are having the pilot plan in Sokoto. Now, that facility is meant to bring in the state-of-the-art equipment that could help artisans, footwear and leather goods manufacturers, give them access to some of these facilities to be able to make products that will be competitive out there. Now, it is intended that these common facilities centers will be replicated, will be deployed or made available or built in other parts of the world. We already have one in Aba, another one in Kano. Those common facility centers were developed in collaboration with UNIDO. So that is the effort because issue of facilities, I think government have a big role to ensure that the desired facilities are made available to MSEs to be able to grow their businesses. So that is one. Secondly, the issue of the leather policy we have mentioned is a very key aspect of government policy to address the challenges in the industry. And NALES has been given another role, regulatory role, this year by the passage of the Act establishing the Institute. So by that, we are well armed to come up with policies that will actually create the right environment for small, medium, and maybe from micro, small and medium businesses to be able to really thrive well in our country. So there are a whole range of issues to look at, but the most important thing is that government have come up with the right policy that will help to develop the sector.
All right, fantastic. And yes, we need more policies to support entrepreneurs, support people out there. Now, Mr. Diza, because when we're talking about challenges, I'm sure a lot of people talk about financing, because a lot of people are looking to scale. How can we overcome some of the challenges that can enable, people in the leather industry scale their businesses, for example?
Thank you once again. I know if we start with talking about the challenges of the sector, we could be here the whole day. So I think I want to focus more on the opportunities, right? I actually thought you were going to even mention about, the way the industry is structured and everything. But let me just even start by saying the reason why, apart from financing, is just one aspect of the challenges, right? So at the Bank of Industry, what we try and look at is, because we know that artisans and creatives, it's normally difficult for them to have the correct credit history, the correct collateral required. Because let's be honest, to secure loan facilities, you need to meet certain requirements, right? So over the years, the bank has had to be more, in our own way, to be creative as to how do we support these businesses? We are not just going to limit ourselves to just the financing. So one aspect of it is, at the onset, we partnered with about 300 business development service providers, because not everybody's at the stage where they can walk in and request and put in the application and ask and get that support. So this is the way the Bank of Industry works, is that, okay, we'll see how we have nationwide, about 300. You're at your leisure, you can choose. You approach them. Look, I need to take a facility from the Bank of Industry. I need to grow my business. I produce bags, I produce footwear. So they are supposed to do that aspect of it. And because the partnership is subsidized, it's supposed to reduce that cost element. So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is that the bank tries to tailor specific solution based on the individual's needs, depending on maybe the facility amount, the location, what it's meant to be for. So we try and tailor solutions to the individual needs. And I think the advantage that we have as a bank is because we operate as a niche. So in terms of cost of funding, I think we have got that down to pat, because we're looking at we do single digits. Right. In most parts, yes, single digit for you to, get equipment financing. So that's another aspect of it. But as I said, funding can only play one aspect of in the challenges. There's also, okay, once you've secured your funding and you're able to produce, what happens to market access, right? So another aspect of it is that the bank now says, okay, well, over the years, we've also supported customers to participate in various trade fairs and exhibitions in Egypt, South Africa, not just, within the country. So we try and provide solutions that can cover all aspects, as I said. The reason I mentioned this is because we also have experience with a related sector, textile sectors, when it's not only the funding aspect. A lot of people think it's just about the money. It's not about the money. Once you produce and you have stock, who do you sell to? So the bank also is mindful of that and thinks, okay, first and foremost, are you credit ready? Let's get you credit ready. You get credit ready, you secure the funding, you produce, are you market ready? So we're trying to work, across, all the areas. And that's the way that I see that we can do that. Thank you. I know we talk about policy. Sorry, I know I need to mention that. Ms. Jones mentioned something about, having, Nigeria. Policy is also another role that can be very incentive. If as it stands, the majority of our leather is exported, right? It's exported through African countries. In fact, it is exported to like maybe Morocco. It ends up, they brand it as Moroccan leather, but it's not, it's Nigerian leather. And it originated maybe in Kano, Sokoto, in other parts of this country. And then we now, we don't have that incentive. So what happens to the producers, the artisans, those that produce the shoes, the bags, the belts? We also think about how we can bridge that gap. Let's ensure that if there was a policy that says you cannot export more than 30% of your output, that you must produce to satisfy the local industries, that's the way that we would grow. So those policies need to also factor in those areas. Tax incentives, of course, those are one of the things, but that's what I feel.
Right. So it's not just about financing. So one of the things some people would say is also the value chain pipeline. Do we have a problem there, and how can we improve on that? You want to go? Yes. Who would like to have a go with that? Yes. Let's start with you.
Okay. Well, as I said, I can already see that we support tanneries, and the bulk of the output is exported. But I'd like to see a situation whereby we have most of our tanneries, are situated like in Kano, Sokoto, and all those, the active tanneries anyway. So I'd like to see a situation whereby there's a linkage between the producers, the tanneries in Kano, and then the producers of the finished leather goods in Aba. So we have one or two cases like that, which we're trying to scale up, because I think it's important, right? There needs to be that link, that synergy. Once you have that synergy, then I think the sky's the limit for us. So I'm thinking about it. It's already fragmented, because you have those that are producing and are exporting, and then you have those that are in finished goods and are probably exporting as well, or import the raw materials, which shouldn't be the case, because we actually have all the resources that we need to, as I said, to form a synergy and do like a value chain financing.
Yeah. Fantastic. Anybody want to have a go at what are the ways that you think we can contribute to improving the value chain pipeline? Shall we? Okay. Well, due to time, let's move on. Mr. Oyebade, we talk a lot about collaboration and partnership. How can we do better in the industry? Collaborate, partner. It's not just about just coming with another, brand. And then how do you think we can collaborate and partner in order to do better in the leather industry specifically?
I think having worked abroad, UK, America, and stuff like that, collaboration for me seems to be a black man's problem. I know this might sound controversial, but if you look at the Indians, you look at Jewish people, they come together, they work. Even if you look at the Lebanese community in Nigeria, they run and maintain the restaurant business. But what they do is they come together as a family or as a group of people. They'll set up a restaurant. They'll get it all up and running. All of them will work together. Once they feel it's established, 2 or 3 of them will go off and go and establish another restaurant under a completely different name and do that same process again and again and again. And it's one of the things that I feel we lack here. Things are slowly changing, but I think they can change a lot quicker. If I look at my business when I came in just from the perspective of doing events, it was very much an individual thing that everybody just did an event. You didn't want to share information with anybody. If you got a contract to do a job with a corporate organization, whether you could do event planning, you could do production, you could do decor, it didn't matter. You just take on everything. Now things are changing. You're seeing a lot of us do collaborations. I work with Myres. If you look around this event alone, I know how many different companies are involved in this. And we can do that with the leather industry. The people that make the leather can work with the manufacturers that do the shoes, can work with those that design and do illustration, and they can come together and create consortiums. I think one of the ways of doing it that is the easiest way to do collaboration, please forgive me if this is already happening, but you create an association. Whether there's an association of leather makers or creatives or whatever it is. And then once you have the association, it's not just about bringing in people that create leather, but it's also bringing on board finance people, people that know about accounting, people that know about export laws and rules and all of that sort of stuff. Where's the best place to go? And then the government also needs to get involved in creating the right type of policies that assist them in doing this. But collaboration is the key to go. I mean, one of the key things I always like to say is that no man is an island.
Especially when you are intentional about it as well. Being intentional about collaboration. I think our last speaker spoke about that as well. It's not just about just saying, oh, this person's doing what I'm doing, let's just come together. Being intentional is absolutely super important. Now, Wilson, you talked about Burna Boy earlier on, and I know a lot of artists in Nigeria, creatives in Nigeria, also want to sort of compete at the global level. What are the things that they need to do? I think maybe you can also say something about that, Mr. Jones. Wilson, what are the things that we can start to do? What would you advise for those who want to compete at the global level, like the Burna Boys, the Wizkids are doing? For people in the leather industry, how can they start to, what can they do to build capacity in order to compete at a global level?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that question. I think you're spot on with the fact that there are areas where we've gotten it, right. I mean, maybe not entirely within the entertainment industry, but there are a few areas that we can point to and say, yes, we're doing things right. But I must also point that, there is, there are different factors that have led to many of these entertainers, being able to do well outside Nigeria. Right. Part of it is that we're in a large economy, a large country with a large population, and of course we also have a case where there are many Nigerians in the diaspora. So I often see myself as anytime I'm outside Nigeria, you are more or less like an ambassador, because people see the country through you. Right? As much as I am very pragmatic about the problems you have, and if you follow me, I talk about them, whether within or outside Nigeria. But there is a sense of me trying to ensure that you also balance the narrative, and you also try to let people know that good things can come outside of Nigeria. So that diaspora community is one key vehicle for both businesses, whether producing goods or even those producing services, to leverage on, right? To see that you already have an ambassador as a business, whether and the size of your ambassadors is quite huge given our population, given the Japa wave and all of that. So I think it's also targeting people in these markets across the world. And I'm sure it's quite difficult to do that on a global scale, but there are specific countries, where you can look at, where you can target, and even just within Africa alone, right? So businesses need to start thinking, how can I leverage on all of the opportunities? Are my products good enough to withstand competition across board? And I think from the macroeconomic side, there is often, a talk about exchange rate, and how it affects us because we are largely import dependent, right? But then, as an exporter, if you are as a business in general, if you want to go into export, it's clear common sense that when your exchange rate is weaker, in fact, you can even get more from exporting. So a weaker exchange rate incentivizes export, and I think we are not paying too much attention to that aspect of the conversation. I think a lot of the time we try to focus on, how much of imports a bottleneck is a devalued exchange rate to us, as a country. But I think we need to start tilting, changing the game towards the export opportunities. And by export, I'm not talking about raw materials. I'm talking about, refined leather products, that you can export to some of these countries. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we can still hear you. Hi, Wilson. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay.
My screen just got frozen. So I think a lot of that will come, and we also need to start looking at investing in skills development at the local level. Issues relating to access to finance. Sometimes I ask myself, how many people can access these BOI loans? And I think BOI have done a fantastic job in specific sectors. Some of the sectors that are following the cables industry. But I'm just wondering how much of people can access these subsidized loans. When you go to the commercial banks, right, you have a case where if you are seeking to pay close to 30% interest on your loans, that in itself already makes you less competitive. So I think we need to start thinking of innovative ways to see how we can get finance to the people, how we can structure the industry to the sense that we can have even more turn rate, right? If you look at the numbers, I understand you would see that Nigeria still spends a lot more importing leather than it exports, right? So in the whole of 2022, for instance, we spent 59 billion naira importing raw hides and skins and leather, and we spent 365 billion naira importing textiles and textile-related products, right? And when you flip to the export side, so you will almost see that the numbers are now smaller. 10 billion naira for exports, and then 36 billion for raw hides and skins. So I think as much as we've seen some progress in the last couple of years, there's still opportunity for us to even refine these products and export more. We need to address all of those big problem challenges of infrastructure, electricity, skills development, and more importantly, the organization of the industry. So whilst we look at leveraging the markets within Africa, the Nigerian diaspora community.
Right. Thank you very much, Wilson. And still talking on this, trying to sort of compete on a global stage, Ms. Jones, market access is something that's very vital. How do you think we can improve that? I know there are a lot of young people here. So how can we improve market access?
All right. If you look at the fashion industry, you realize that most of the big fashion players outside Nigeria, America, China, UK, the clothing shops, after COVID, when everybody closed up, the factories that have been able, or the labels that have been able to stand the test of time, that actually made profit post-2019 are the people that were able to adapt, collaborate, understand the importance of diversity of the young people within the organization to quickly use omni-channels and web-based services to do their importation business. Now from their angle, importation is to us. Importation, AOE registered that in 2020, in last 2 years, they made about 1.2 billion sales, selling jeans material and all these accessories to African countries through their www.aoe.com or whatever. So let's flip that around. They are young. In fact, Nigeria is the only place where Instagram has discovered that it's a business. Instagram did not intend for what they found in Nigeria. That was not their plan. That young Nigerians will be making that kind of money on Instagram. So even for the leather industry, Mr. Wilson is talking about export. I believe, first and foremost, once you improve your skill, as mentioned by him, and you scale up to international standard, it is important that you put your products, learn. That was why I really enjoyed the master class on Friday that the lady from Coco Channel handled. Then you begin to put your product online. It's cheaper. In a dynamic environment, you need to find creative and cheaper way to do business. So create a web-based. She has said that they have consultants. One of the job of those consultants is to help you create a business plan that is cheaper. Put your product in that place. And don't forget also that we have perfected how to also send our product outside Nigeria, logistics. I had a clothing franchise shop. I can tell you, people online, people were asking, I don't even make the clothes, I just got a franchise shop. They were asking, DHL has a code for the export. As in, it's not as difficult as we think it is if you open your mind to other opportunities. So I say, let us begin. I think the young people should begin by using technology, opening channel, but you need to upscale your skill. So if there are trainings being organized by like these sessions, please, he said you need to upscale your skill. Don't say because you are naturally artistic and you are passionate, you know everything. Make yourself available to every training that will allow you keep up the standard of your product. Then go to that space. Then another thing the lady mentioned on Friday that we'll never forget. He said that abroad, they do not have culture. They do not have heritage. They do not have any story to tell. That the things that you see in Nigeria that you've taken for granted, they are like content to add on your products and create a good story, put online and sell. Because she made an example. You see a woman backing a child, it's normal for you. For them, it's creativity. It is fashion. You understand? All the things that we do here and we take for granted is a whole world of content that you have not even scratched the surface that you can export online and create your story. So I'm saying to you young people today, dare to have a good story, dare to use your techie advantage, dare to use your brave, no give up attitude and take over the export world. Don't worry, if NEPC does not give you license quickly, they will beg and run after you when they see how much you have sold online in 1 year. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. A round of applause for our panelists. Yes, I know we have 7 more minutes. We're going to take Q&A, but I wanted to ask Dr. Terry about intellectual property, which is something that oftentimes people have concerns about, intellectual property protection. What are the things that government can put in place so that there are designers here? Next, I've heard of quite a lot of people in recent times talk about how you come up with a brand. The next minute, they are not even trying to change it. They're doing exactly the same thing. So what can be done? What can government do to protect their designs?
Thank you so much. Very simple and straightforward. As designers, you will need to be aware that federal government of Nigeria have an office called NOTAP that is responsible for giving intellectual rights to any young person or anybody that comes up with any product. You will need to protect it. You will need to lay hold of it before other persons actually have access to it. So as soon as you have an idea, you have a product, the first thing to do is not to commercialize it, is to actually try to get the intellectual property, the IP of that product first and foremost. And NOTAP is available. You don't need to pay much. The process is also straightforward. So I advise that any of us that have any idea or design, do well to protect your property by registering with NOTAP. Through that you can get the IP for that particular product. Please permit me to also add to what others have already mentioned concerning how to actually get our product to the regional, continental, and global stage. It's important for us to know that certification is very important, very key. And we are doing that as a government through the Standard Organization of Nigeria, which you are aware. They come up with standards, and through those standards, we can actually have a certification of our products that can help us take our products to the international stage. For this industry, it's a growing industry, and SON, in collaboration with NALES, we are coming up with standards and guidelines on how every product along the value chain can be certified for the international market. Permit me to also mention just this last Thursday. Yes, last Thursday we were in the SON office drafting standards for the footwear. We call it standards for shoemaking and cobbling services. Okay, it is meant to provide a guidelines that gives artisans, shoemakers, all that they need to know about competence, about certification, and all of that. And at the regional stage, we have the African Organization for Standardization have or are advocating for what they call one standard, one test, one certificate to be used anywhere. Okay, we must understand this. We must also come we must connect to some of this information, because if you must send your products to other West African countries and maybe East Africa and other nations in the continent and globally, you will need to realize this. Someone mentioned about India, what the Indians are doing, and the Lebanese and all of this. You will discover that they don't joke with issue of certification. The moment you're able to get that certification for your product, then you can take it anywhere and to be recognized, and people can understand and know your brand and patronize it, you know. And one of the standard we're developing, or that was proposed, a draft standard on second-hand shoes or footwear, you know. And when the proposal was forwarded for African countries to make their inputs or accept or not, we discover Rwanda declined. Rwanda said they don't need this standard because they are advocating for patronizing their own products. So they don't allow people to bring in second-hand shoes into their country. So as a country, we must also begin to understand some of these issues around standardization and certifications that will allow us to take products to the international stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for our panelists, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I see we don't have much time, so I'm going to go and take some Q&A. How many people have questions? Okay, I just want to... Okay, all right, let me see. All right, fantastic. Okay, I'm going to do Q&A, but while you answer also, I'd like you to answer looking at your aspirations and, you know, thoughts for the future for the industry, zoning in on the leather industry. All right, before I go to... Do we have a roaming mic? Okay, before I go to the Q&A, I'm actually standing in as a moderator, and I'm just going to bring in the real moderator to have like a few minutes talk session with us very quickly before we go to the Q&A. She's Dr. Henrietta Onwubuzie. She's an associate professor of entrepreneurship at Lagos Business School and a certified management consultant. She's also an IFC certified management trainer. She's currently the director of the Business Innovation Accelerator, BIA, and project director for the Impact Investing Initiative at LBS. She was recently conferred the Excellence Award in Entrepreneurship and Impact Investing and appointed a distinguished fellow of the Global Africa Leadership Council. So ladies and gentlemen, let me invite her forward. The real moderator who I'm sitting in for. Very quickly, Dr. Henrietta Onwubuzie. You're welcome, ma'am. She's going to have a few minutes and then we'll go to Q&A. You're welcome. Thank you very much for coming.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me start by apologizing. There was a mix-up with the time. I thought it was 5 o'clock, so fortunately, someone called me to rescue the day. So it's a real pleasure to be with all of you, and it's great to see a lot of us here because the Nigerian leather industry is definitely one that has the key to unlock a lot of potential. You know, in preparation for today, I did some research to understand just how huge the opportunities are in this industry. And what I saw showed me that there is a huge positive trend in the industry there's a growing appreciation for local craftsmanship, for traditional craftsmanship that wasn't there before. And it's not just a local appreciation, it's an international appreciation. So there's a huge local and international market for this industry. And so what you see at the exhibition today is just the tip of the iceberg. For us to unlock this industry, there has to be scale. Okay, so today you still have excellent people who are doing everything from sourcing the leather to dyeing it, to processing it, to sewing it, you know, they import the accessories and all of that. That's not a very efficient way to work. Okay, it reminds me of what they told us in America. We went on a study tour there, and we went to the Harley-Davidson platform. They have a big office, forgotten which state now I was in. But basically what they said was that it used to take 2 years to produce one car. And that's why cars used to be very expensive, and only very wealthy people rode cars, while other people rode on horse carriages. And it was until Henry Ford decided to create the assembly line process that the cost of cars crashed, and it became something that everybody could afford to drive. And so the same thing has to happen in the leather industry. We need to backward integrate significantly, and we also need to have division of labor where people specialize in either getting the leather, or whether rearing the animals from which we source the leather, processing it, okay, into different types of leather for specializing in whether footwear, handbags, belts. Also, you can imagine the quality of leather is different, the texture of the leather that's used is different. And then get to the point where people who produce the bags, the designers who are creatives, the ones who have the ideas of how to make these bags beautiful, know that if they want to get it cut, they can take everything to one place where they're specializing in that. So at the end of the day, you have beautiful products, okay, that are done with greater perfection because the experts are doing each part of the process, and you're also able to churn out more in less time. So this is, and of course, it's going to be less expensive at the end of the day. Okay, so this is where the Nigerian leather industry needs to go to. We already have excellent talents. The demand is there, and demand far outstrips supply. And of course, with the Japa syndrome, there are more people overseas in the diaspora who want these things desperately and are ready to pay anything. So we're leaving a lot of money on the table. And we need to stop that, because here we are complaining about the economy, but the opportunities abound. So I'm very happy to see Hadiza here, because she's from BOI, okay? They can make the magic happen. It's the kind of thing they were set up to do. So working closely with her, I think we can make the magic happen. Where's Femi? She's still around. Okay, so as I said, I apologize for coming late. I don't know what has been said already, but there's huge potential to tap into. And I think that the right people have been chosen for this panel to see how we can unlock all of these. So let me stop here while we take your questions and the panelists will attempt to answer. Thank you. Yes, please. The guy in the suit and the guy beside him.
Okay. Good afternoon once again. We welcome you, the moderator. Actually, it's a response to the concern of one of our panelists talking about not only one, you mentioned it, and I think BOI also mentioned it. Sorry, I think Providus, talking about how do we bring the finished leather goods to sit down together with the leather producer, the tanneries. That has been done in a way, and what we have now is, which I'm part of, we have a caretaker committee, which I am the secretary. We now have an amalgamated association. We have some major block of association before now, like we have the LEPMAS, we have the Nigeria Tanners Council, we have LAPAN, we have major ones like that. So we have been able to bring everybody together under one umbrella. Just like you have umbrella association, Nigeria Medical Association, you have the NBA. They still have their own smaller association, even state version. So we now have this amalgamated association now, which will just have a teething problem to be sorted out. I think we're almost there. We're almost there. But my concern is this. Even the last session before now also talked about the issue of collaboration and association. How many of us, how many of the shoemakers here belong to association or cooperatives? I'm talking from experience. We had a summit here. I'm from NILEST, Nigerian Institute of Leather and Science Technology. This is the only government organization that talk about leather. We had a summit in Alausa last year, September. I never saw any of these, our shoemakers there. They were not there. If you were there, can you raise your hand, please? So that's to tell you. And this was in collaboration with Lagos State Shoemakers Association. And the complaint from their president and their ISCO is that many of these shoemakers are not registered with them. And so when we are not well organized ourselves, how do we approach the government? BOI, we have been talking before now, that what is being done for textile industry can be done for the leather industry. But where are we? How organized are we? It's good like this, like just like a talk show. But me, I like being practical. Let's talk to ourselves. Belong to one association, and then we'll work together. The more the merrier. We are together, just one common front. That's just my appeal. Thank you so much.
Okay. Just before I hand this question over to the panelists, can I just say one thing which I think will help your situation? What do they stand to gain? I don't think anybody needs to be convinced to join if they know that they will not end up being taxed, asked to pay dues, and nothing will come out of it. You have to ask yourself, what do they stand to gain? I mean, you know what the goals you have, but you have to break those goals down. The immediate the shoemaker, the cobblers, are struggling to make ends meet and struggling to overcome the multiplicity of taxes that Lagos State and the federal government impose on them. So will this be one more way to tax them further or to help them? I think that when people realize that this is in my own interest, they don't require much push to join. So it has to be obvious that there are benefits to them. Okay, it's like asking those in the informal sector to become formalized. Those of us who are in the formal sector are looking for ways to go because there are so many ways that they take our money all the time, whether it's from the banking charges or it's from one tax after another. Okay, so we really have to understand that to stimulate the economy, we need to leave money in the hands of people so they can spend and grow the economy. But so far, that's not the case. So the panelists may have more to add to this.
All right, I'll go to what I said earlier, which is not too different from what she said. When you want to make a case for change, it is important that you explain why. That's number one. If people do not understand why they need to join, and like she mentioned, what is the need for them? What is the vision of the organization? Then number two, who are your stakeholders? So the truth of the matter is that everybody that means when you're defining that vision of that association, there must be an end goal. For example, are you seeking a crowdfunding that will address the issue she has raised or have raised? Meaning that we understand that you all are small scale, but your goal is that we're going to put together structure that ensures that if we go under a crowdfunding to say we're going to Providus and BOI to ask for a 1 billion loan that we know is for every member of our association, we are standing our guarantee that all these loans will be paid back because we have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in structure. Then when we get this 1 billion, maybe 400 people are benefiting from it. So they know that they're working towards something. They know that there's something defined. Then they are encouraged. So attending the meeting is part of the things, like upscaling your skill. There are 4 training in a year you must attend to qualify. They will attend. Do you understand? So I think it's important that we sit down and document, make the vision clear, then use technology also, because you have a lot of young people. young people don't like human beings. I'm even surprised a lot of them are here. They don't really like to see human beings a lot. In the bank now, we don't see them come to the bank. So what I'm saying is understand the diversity of the age group that are involved in this business. Then make sure that your communication aligns with the way you train them, the way they come for meetings. So when you do meetings, allow them, some people to join on Zoom like Dr. Wilson is joining us today. You get what I'm trying to say? So it's not that if they are not there, allow them to join on Zoom. So when you do all that, you will see that they will participate. And it's not always very easy. You will have a timeline, sir, to say our goal in 1 year is our first quarter will move maybe from 100 to 2,000 by end of the year. And you will see them, give them responsibility, have shared leadership amongst them because they are each other's influencers. It's not you that is their influencer. So find an influencer amongst them in different groups that will galvanize the team towards your objective. So that's actually what I think. Thank you.
Thank you. So mine is really, it's not too far-fetched. I know you mentioned that there was a program not too long ago that there was little attendance. What we need to ask ourselves is, you can see the cross-section of participants here. What is the draw for them to participate in Lagos Leather Fair and not in a program that you convened? You can see that maybe what Lagos Leather Fair offers them is a platform for them to at least get their products showcased. Somehow there's an incentive for them to be here, present physically. So the question we should be asking ourselves is, okay, what is the draw for them to participate in Lagos Leather Fair that you were not able to get for Nihilist, for example? That's one aspect. And then to think about, I'm glad that you mentioned that you said there's going to be some kind of amalgamation of association. You know, it's always difficult, I can assure you. If you have one industry and you have tens of associations, it's much easier if you have like one body and one common point of meeting. So it's much easier. Like maybe Lagos Leather Fair for them offers that opportunity. So that's why they feel that they can come here. They can showcase, they can connect with maybe producers, processors. They can even have maybe access to market. So maybe we think about what are the needs. It's not about what you want to project out there, but let's look at, okay, what do these participants need? What do they need from us? And then we now try and structure it in such a way that we're meeting those needs. Not that we are trying to drive a point and we're going to convene a program, you register with the association, but what is, as Dr. Emerita said, what is the end goal? What is the incentive? You have to think about who is your end user. It's not more about what I want to produce. What am I producing and for who?
Okay. Thank you. I think the panelists have spoken well. I don't know if anybody else wants to say something. Okay. And I'll just tell you two things I know tends to hinder the success of the kind of thing you're trying to do, which is absolutely excellent and great. Okay. The first is overlooking the importance, as she mentioned, of including the youth in your management team. And the second is integrity and transparency. Don't wait for them to begin to say, are we sure this money is going to be used for what it is meant to be? Already present a transparent platform to show that this is how the funds will be administered, this is what we plan to use the money for, this is how much we have so far, this is what we've used it for, this is how much we need, and this is what the plan is. There has to be transparency because that is what encourages cohesion and trust in the leadership, so that whatever you're planning can be effective. The first killer, I can tell you, is lack of integrity. I've seen this happen in so many associations, whether it is in the Transport Association or in the Telecoms Association. Okay, it's key. But the world has changed. The youth have a voice. They are the majority. And so they must be brought into leadership if you want to be effective. And of course, communication styles have to change. Okay? We're seeing more people do important things on Twitter Spaces. LinkedIn also has a conference platform. There's Zoom. There are just so many ways. Instagram Live, Facebook Live. These are things that are no longer just for young people. It's for everybody if you want inclusion. Okay? So, but we're not discouraging you. We're encouraging you. We're just saying, think about what you need. yes, we're all stakeholders too, and we're willing to work with you to make sure what you're doing succeeds. Okay, we're just saying that the youth now have power. Okay, thank you. More questions? Yes, the young guy, yes. Yeah, the last one.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Akpemi Bajoa. And
can you raise your voice, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Akpemi Bajoa. So, you guys spoke about how to increase our export value, but from what I've learned in economics class, from growing up and everything, is that first of all, we're supposed to increase the value of our product domestically. Before then, we can export it. And there were some suggestions given out, such as there should be a cap on how much we export, like about 30%. There was another one about tariffs. And then the last one was, I don't remember the last one. But my main question really is, how do we improve the value of our products domestically before we can even think about exporting them? So first of all, the way I believe to do that is to increase the value of our products among our people. So among Nigerians, how do we plan on doing that? Because I don't think, like, half of it is partially the government's fault for not promoting that, oh, our leather is good enough, like she spoke about earlier, that our product is very valuable, it's of good value. So how do we do that among our people? How do we increase basically the knowledge base or the wisdom among our people to know that, oh, our product is as good as anyone's around the world, and we should invest in our own product before others, Nigerians in the diaspora included, invest in our product first? So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, yes, please.
I think what you have to think about here is look at what works within the creative industry and replicate it. If we look at what's happening within the music industry, yes, what we did when I was growing up, we did not listen to Nigerian music. It was a taboo.
Yeah.
We did not wear Ankara, Nigerian clothes, anything like that. If you were not wearing designer label, then you were a nobody. It was as simple as that. But as time has gone on, it has changed. So like if you look at the music industry and if also the film industry, yes, they've got it right. What they did was they sold to Nigerians first. They got you interested in what we liked. And then they now marketed that to the Nigerians abroad, who then played it to their own friends and family, who then cottoned onto it. And then what did they then go and do? As much as you might say that Davido uses his money to create fame, he used his money to create collaborations with foreign artists. Foreign artists then started working with Nigerians. All of a sudden, music is popular. Davido is going to be playing at the CNN Music Festival on Monday. You know, you see our artists at Coachella and other places like that. You can replicate that in the film industry now. We're doing the same thing. Believe it or not, the film industry was far bigger than the music industry was. Nollywood was so big in the Caribbean, it is unbelievable. If you go to the Caribbean, they know every single Nollywood film star that there is. So what we have to do here is, and we're doing it already, things like Leather Fair, things like this, we're already doing it, believe it or not. We are starting to buy our own. When I look at Nigerian women nowadays, if I count 10 women, maybe 2 of them have a foreign bag. Most of them now have a Nigerian-made bag or a Nigerian-made purse. So it's already starting to happen. When our people come back on holiday, they just got bags and so on and so forth, yes? They buy our bags and they take them back. Social media, like you said, they said young people don't like to mix with people. It's true, but what they sell on social media, you'll be amazed at what we are doing export-wise, social media. So don't be disheartened. It is already happening. What we're now trying to do is take it to a larger scale. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. I'll just support what he has said by letting you know that, you know, everything starts from somewhere. I remember the first Nollywood movies, we all cringed at them, you know. But over time, they got better. They got better trained actors and actresses, and they did a better job. Now, even the the fashion industry. I mean, look at what Hadiza is wearing. That's a well-tailored Ankara dress. I typically wear Ankara, but I was tired this weekend. I said, look, I'll just put on a boo-boo and that's it, okay? But the truth is, once you do a great job, and that's something we really need to improve, and thank you for that question, because sometimes we want people to buy no matter what we do. No. The market punishes bad workmanship and rewards good craftsmanship, okay? You've got to do things well. Don't cut corners, okay? Most Nigerian outfits, I can assure you that what Hadiza is wearing now is much more expensive than many imported designer things. And Nigerian women are paying for it because it's well tailored, it's well put together. Right. Okay? Yes, okay, what you're wearing is also, exactly, is also Nigerian, okay? So, and it costs much more than the foreign designer things, okay? So, people appreciate, well, good craftsmanship. And that's what you should all aim at, because we have the talent. I assure you, when I travel these days, I don't buy the clothes. I just came back from Spain, a business school. I went through the shops. I was disgusted. I said, even if you dash me these things, I will not wear them. And yet, they're expensive shops I was going through. Just like, what's going on here? There's something, I mean, I prefer to come back home and take my things to a good tailor and get something beautifully tailored for me. Okay? So, we're not bad. You see, let me tell you what has happened to us. I'm sure you've heard of this experiment where a teacher had two groups of students. And then one were the smart students and the other were the so-called dumb students. So she went to the dumb students and told them, you're in this class because you're the best students in the school. And then went to another group and said, you're in this class because you're not doing so well. The other smart group, guess what happened at the end of the term? Guess who did better at the end of the term? The dumb set. Okay? Mindset. Look, guys, you're highly competitive. I have seen rags sold in Harrod in the name of trying to be African, and they put a ticket price of over $1,000, okay? We don't do rags here. We know the real thing, okay? So the opportunities are huge. Just be good at what you do. Don't cut corners. And it's easier to be good when you have division of labor well outlined. When somebody specializes in cutting or sewing or doing embroidery or, beading or whatever, that's just what we need to do. Regarding cotton production, we're not even produced enough yet. I know somebody who has orders for like 10,000 pieces. She has to go between Nigeria, Kenya, and Rwanda to be able to get 10,000 pieces. Okay? So the market out there is huge. We have not reached the stage where we're like OPEC, where you say we're cutting production. We haven't even touched the surface. You can easily get, with the kind of collaboration I'm thinking that we should have, you can easily get orders for over 10,000 of each piece. We don't have the capacity to produce that. Okay? So forget about cutting your capacity right now. Just focus on producing a perfect piece each time and watch your market grow.
Wow.
Everything you have will be swept up.
My goodness, ladies and gentlemen, they deserve a huge round of applause. In fact, the standing ovation, I think. Can we just rise up for a few seconds and just put our hands together for them? Phenomenal. Thank you so much.